dozen eggs. And also he liked bacon. He would buy the whole package, fix it on the stove, really dry, and then he would take it apart, red meat and grease. He would give the red meat to his dogs. On white bread he would put grease and then salt.
All right, we're going to talk about the album in a minute, but I love your story about the drink case, because in the later years of the Seldom Seen, he had like a custom cup holder that he put on the mic stand that always had his whiskey sour in it. When the band I mentioned, Coup de Grace, one of the that band I mentioned, Coup de Grace, one of the guys lived next door to John and said exactly what you did. He was a very private person. He loved his baseball, loved his bowling, and he was very different from the stage persona. But he still did fire back. I was trying to book a gig for my band, and this promoter over on the Eastern Shore of Maryland said she had called and asked him if the Seldom Seen would play, and he said, well, how much? And she said, I've got about $1,500, and he said, well, which two of us would you like? We are going to take some questions, but before we do that, Akira, is there anything that you would like to share?
When we flew, me and Ronnie Freeland went to Nashville and recorded Jerry. While we were recording, are you going to work tomorrow? You were playing, and all of a sudden you said, oh, I can put John's dobro like in here from Folkways album.
Yeah.
I think it was Train 45, I think. I just couldn't believe Jerry remembered John Duffey's dobro leg from 1963 or something. I was impressed. And you can hear it on the album. By the way, I got special John Duffey t-shirts. I think I only have 4. They are there. You better run.
This is the quintessential drawing of John Duffey with a cigarette and a drink in his hand. It is the awesomest t-shirt. I was wearing one at Spigma, and the kid chased me down. Where do you get that? I said, there are only 15 of them made. Anyway, can we take just a couple questions real quick, if you have them, and then we want to talk about the CD a little bit, and some of the recordings and some of the people that are on it.
Before you do that, can I just read the story that someone handed to me?
Absolutely.
Because it might get lost. Okay, well anyhow, the White House, yeah, this is from Eddie Adcock, and it's titled, Lost My Only Chance to Play at the White House. The White House called for a command performance of The Country Gentleman. When John Duffey was told, he asked, what day, what date? It was a Tuesday. He said, Tuesday is my bowling night. How much does it pay? He was told it was an honor, no pay. He went bowling.
That was the equivalent of John Goodman in I don't roll on Shabbos.
Over here.
Who's president? Probably
I thought
Carter or
it was Jimmy Carter.
It was probably Carter.
Carter liked the president.
Yeah.
Picture in the CD
It was Carter.
was Carter. That was Seldom Seen.
Okay, question over here.
Ron, you Frank Duffey was he was a winner behind the stage when you got Frank Duffey. Can you tell that story? It still makes me think.
Yeah, it's
Apparently Ron
Brown reminded me of that this morning. I think it was, might have been the Country Gentleman. Do you remember, Mary, the Seldom Seen? Okay, Seldom Seen was playing on stage, and John had played a bunch of tricks on me in the past. And you know, he was real smart and could think of tricks, and I wasn't. But I thought about it long and hard because I was driven very strongly. thinking. And so I remember the sound men had to be in on this, and there came a time in the show when John just had a great mandolin break, and I knew it was coming, and it went on forever. It was one of those rides he would take. And he got up on the mandolin and he started playing, but the sound men cut off his microphone, and I was backstage playing something else. And they cut on my microphone, and I'll never forget John looking at his hand. And he kept, was anybody here when that happened? I got it good. He could take a joke. He really could. I should mention that. There's I apologize, but you know, it was in the man. He never played a joke on anybody that couldn't take it. He never did that. He and Monroe got on each other's case all the time. And I never forget the time that, I'm sorry I come in this, but Monroe got it good once too, because John was out there playing, he had on a cowboy hat and stuff like his Bill Monroe, and Bill comes across the stage with a broom. And John says, it's a good thing that man can find janitor work.
There's a good picture on the internet. Ralph Stanley is singing here, and John Duffey is singing right here. Bill Monroe was trying to sing, and John's holding Bill's voice. I'm going to sing tenor to Ralph.
That's great. We'll take one more question. I think you had one right there. Did you have a question?
Over here.
Okay, Bill.
Should I use the mic for a minute?
Oh, God.
All right, make it quick.
Did you inherit John's pants?
That's right.
Ron had to introduce Bill Monroe one time at Gray Fox. And he came out on the stage and he was really waxing poetic. This man that you were, well, before I tell you that, this is what I have to tell you. Backstage, John Duffey and Bill Monroe were standing there. Ron gets out and says, when you think of this man I'm about to introduce, you think of the sky, and you think of the woods, and you think of the forest, you think of the family. And Duffey reached out and said, and women! And with that, Ron said, well, if it wasn't for this person that I'm about to introduce, John Duffey wouldn't have done an honest day's work in his life. And backstage, Monroe looks at Duffey and goes, hear what he said? Hear what he said?
Thank you, Bill. All right, one of the things that was mentioned is John was a luthier, and I think one of the most famous legacies is a mandolin called the Duck, and John built two or three? Built two of these, and when I first met Akira was playing the Duck mandolin. Number two. So, Akira, why don't you tell us about the Duck?
He built a mandolin for himself when he started the Salem scene, because his old Gibson mandolin was stolen in '69 as he was leaving the gentleman. So when he started the Salem scene, he didn't have one. So, and he was a luthier, so he decided to make his own. And you see that mandolin on the cover of the Salem Scenes albums. This one is number 2 that he made for me in '72. Let me just play a little bit.
Through that, Akira.
When I got the other mandolin from John, it was in really bad shape. The string height was this high, and frets were all worn out. So I had it fixed and you won't get in tune. So I had a friend of mine fix it. We had to move the frets to get in tune. John didn't care.
Peaceful and beautiful.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this Epilogue CD. It was really cool. I remember being at IBMA and Akira telling me what they were doing. And one of the really neat things, there are 53 people playing on this album, and there are some of the real top names in bluegrass. And I thought it was really great that they set up the studio, and Akira would basically go walking down around the IBMA and go, "We're doing this project, a tribute to John Duffey. Would you like to be on it?" And so many of the great bluegrass musicians enthusiastically said, "Boy, I would love to be on that." People like Jerry. I mean, that is really cool. On this album, you got Sam Bush, John Cowan, Ronnie Bowman, Sammy Sheeler, Bela Fleck, Ron Stewart, Dudley Connell, a lot of the people from the country gentlemen like Charlie Waller's son and Tom Gray. It's a who's who in bluegrass, and Ronnie and Akira kind of sat down and scoped out what would be good songs to do. Can you tell us anything about how you decided on what to do?
Ronnie was listening to country gentlemen when he was before 10 years old, because his father was running Rebel Records, and he used to go into the studio when Gentleman was recording. When I saw him in 1970, Dick Phelan didn't remember some of the things, and he asked Ronnie, "Who was playing mandolin on that tin?" Oh, that was Jimmy Goodrow. Ronnie knew it, and later on, Ronnie became a great recording engineer. So we would scope around the hallway, lobby at the IBMA, and Ron was the first one gracious enough to record with us. And then we got David Greer, Ron Stewart, James King, great players. Number two, it was easy to get people because they loved John. Number two, these people are top-notch musicians. I didn't have to tell Jerry how to play dobro. I just played that song.
He's been mad at you ever since.
I didn't have to tell John Cowan how to sing. It was easy. Number three, we didn't have to do any arrangement. When you have a new band, you got to come up with your own style and blah, blah, blah. We just did what country gentlemen and Saddam Singh did. It was an easy job for me.
What I think is really cool about some of the tracks on this CD is how the musicians were true to the song and to previous recordings, yet they let their own voices come through as well. I think what you told me about Bela Flex on Sunrise, he played the first couple measures exactly like Daddy, and then the rest was Bela. And I think, Jerry, you did a little bit of that too on some of your breaks. You played like the album, and then what you felt after that. So there's a lot of that in the album.
Sam Bush bending strings.
And this mandolin was played by most of the mandolin players on there.
David Grisman, Mark McClashin, Jimmy Goodrow, Lou Reed, they played this mandolin, and I thought it was pretty cool.
So one of the big issues, this album was recorded mostly in 2003 and 4, and So you're saying it's 2018. What happened? Well, when they were getting these tracks, the brains behind this, Ronnie and Akira, and of course Ronnie I think is the silent mind behind this, going, Akira, I think we should try somebody else on that. And so they try another person doing something and see what kind of chemistry came out of it. So when they got all this stuff done, they had a ton of tracks. I mean, lots and lots of tracks. And so they had to sift through all kinds of things to get the right chemistry for what was going on. And Ronnie mixed and mixed and mixed, and that was some of the joy that I got. I've been going to Akira's house for many years, and he's just bluegrass history in a box right here. I learn so much every time I go there, but we'd listen to these tracks and say, what do you think of that? And I was like, ooh, this is great, can't wait till it comes out. So unfortunately in all this, you mentioned Ronnie died in 2014, and then there were some estate issues, and it took a while to get this out. So Akira finally got everything from all that taken care of about a year ago, and it's been on a roller coaster ever since. He's been so busy with it, and he hooked up with Smithsonian Folkways, which has a great poetic justice to it, because that's where John and the Country Gentleman recorded, on the Folkways. So it finally came out June 22nd, and it's been sent to a lot of people, and man, I'm hearing the greatest things about it. If you got here early enough, we were playing that when everybody walked in, a bunch of the tracks. So Akira, tell us about, what are your favorite parts of the project? What resonates with you?
Believe or not, recording David Grisman, Sam Bush, Kenny Smith, it's so much fun because they know what to play. They play right. Jay Douglas, I mean, I'm just in the studio, control room. I used to say, Ronnie Phil, and I said, pick a song. And he would say, let's do this. I would go, I hate that song. He would say, okay, how about this? Okay, that'll be a good tune. What should we get? How's about so and so? Okay, that'll be great. Who's gonna sing tenor? How's about this person? Well, that'll be cool. I had never heard them sing together, but I bet they will sound great. James King was singing Going to the Races. Going to the Races was the first song that Country Gentleman recorded in like 58 or something. And James King is kind of like Stanley Brothers sound, so it's a Carter Stanley song, so that'll fit. But we put a little bit of soul on the scene by using Lou Reed on tenor. We put a little bit of Country Gentleman by having Eddie Attica singing bariton. And banjo, Ron Stewart, he killed it, he nailed it. I was in the studio for the first time hearing Ron Stewart. It's like, oh my God. And funny thing is, Ron is with the Saddam scene now, to playing banjo, not the fiddle. I'm not too crazy about the fiddle. We didn't use fiddle on this album at all.
I think Duffey probably would have liked that you didn't. I think Duffey might have liked that you didn't.
John, Country Gentleman tried to get fiddle player like Carl Nelson, but somehow Ricky was there for a long time, but that was after John left. Saddam Singh used Ricky on the Rider and a few other songs, but Saddam Singh was just, dobro, banjo,
That'd be Ricky Skaggs.
Ricky took up a lot of he sort of modeled his MC work after John Duffey's. I remember playing the Birchmere one night, and for some reason Ricky asked if anybody out there had a bologna sandwich, and no one did. But we played a Food Town gig one time. Boone Creek did, but he had so many John inflections that he would start picking on somebody and just hammer them all night long. Not not in a bad way. But we were playing a food town opening, and it started to rain. We were on a flatbed truck. This is also glamorous. But we were also. It was also the day that we were supposed to sign a record deal with RSO Records, who at the time was going to either pick Boone Creek or Kansas. They made the right choice. But we couldn't play on the flatbed truck, so we set up on each side of the doors going in and out of the... half the band on one side, and Ricky was stopping people and looking in their bags on the way out of the supermarket. It was something Duffey would have done. Yeah, so, sorry.
That's great. One other thing I want to mention about this project is the great thing about Folkways, Smithsonian Folkways, is the liner notes. Any of you fans of old albums and CDs that actually had good liner notes, this has a 44-page booklet in it, and it's fantastic. Akira has written a couple of pages with some really interesting insights. Katie Daly wrote some liner notes.
Is Katie here?
Katie?
She should be.
She's MC.
Oh, she's MC. Well,
She's
that's
so, always
good.
so busy, but Katie wrote some great liner notes, and she was a huge fan of the Seldom Scene back in the day, and she had a radio show. But on the liner notes, it meant so much to me when Akira and I would listen to this, and he would point out to me the lick that somebody played on this particular song, and he actually conveyed probably some of that into the person that wrote the liner notes. And it's really neat to read all the liner notes. So those of you that enjoy that kind of thing, you'll really enjoy this one. It's really, really good.
Dudley Connell wrote How It Is to Be on the Road with John. And he could have said John was a super nice guy, he was a great tenor singer. No, he went one step more, a little too extreme. When I read what Dudley wrote, I'm like, oh my God, I'm pretty sure Folkways would say no. Dudley wanted you to know how extreme John was, and you have to read it.
Excellent. We're getting short on time here. I'd like to ask each of the people up here, we've got like 2 minutes or less each, but if you said you had 3 top stories, maybe your second one I would like to hear. And if
You think I can count to 3? Let me check with Drew.
So I'd like, and then I'll get to you, Jerry, and give Akira the last word.
So one time we were playing a festival that had a swimming pool off to the side of the stage. And John had become particularly playful, but a lot of people that play bluegrass music don't like to be interrupted. And I don't blame them, I'm not saying, but that was not, John didn't care. The more uninterrupted they wanted to be, the more John wanted to do something. And so he finally got just frustrated. And he told me, we were talking, he said, the thing I like about you is you don't care if I mess up your show. And I thought, first of all, you can't mess up my show, John. We've never had a set list. We don't use monitors. We wouldn't even know if you messed it up. And so he got real playful, and it was so much fun, because I'd be playing the mandolin, he'd be doing the finger stuff, and just run off and off stage. I couldn't think of anything, and finally I did. And I went over to the swimming pool where they had one of these things that they pull people out of for drowning, and it was about 20 feet long. And when the Seldom Scene was on, I was on John's side of the stage, and the hook just kept coming out. Feeding it out about 6 inches at a time. And I was behind where John couldn't see it, just kept feeding it out. And finally I knew where the mandolin break was coming, and he walked up to the mic, and I got it around his neck. And pulled him all the way off stage. And for a minute I thought he was mad. But John didn't have any mad in him. I love him for that.
Since I'm the only one up here, I think that had absolutely nothing to do with that record. I'm going to CD, whatever it is. I'd be shocked and saddened if the IBMA Awards don't go. The liner notes are incredible, just alone the liner notes. All the musicians, everything on it. If you don't have that CD, you really should get that CD because it's historic.
It's available here.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I listened to it today. I mean, Ronnie Freeland was a great engineer. He was, and you know, Ronnie Freeland, when we were cutting the J.D. Crowe and the New South record, Ronnie was the second engineer on that project. But I don't think anybody ever knew that. I don't think they wrote those things down. But he was great, you know. And I also met David Greer on that same session. But he was like maybe this tall, and he didn't have a beard yet. But I remember he had lightning bolts on his shoes. Go figure. Okay, I got this story that John told me, and it's really awful. But it's a John story, and it's gonna ruin this whole thing. But he was at the grocery store one day, and he had this whole, you know, grocery basket full of stuff, and he put it down on the what do you call it? Belt. And he had, you know, a pair of those really wild, you know, like Bill's pants on over there. He had a pair of those on, and he you know, he was you know, past 60 years old, and he felt, he had this feeling that he needed to pass gas. And he said when you're past 60, you gotta be really careful about this stuff. And he said, and then I took a chance and lost. And but he said he was standing there and he could feel, you know, this terrible feeling down his leg in his suit. And he was, this is John telling. And he said, and then to add insult to injury, a fella comes walking up to him and says, "Aren't you John Duffey?" Don't applaud that. Oh, what the hell.
Wow.
And there you have it.
Akira, do you have any final thoughts here?
There's no way I can beat that.
Well, is there anything else you would like to take here?
Well, no, my mind is a little occupied right now.
Well, let's just wrap it up with a John Duffey quote. Bless your heart and all your vital organs.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Tim, Ron, Akira, and the Queen of Bluegrass Kids and Taekwondo, Jerry Douglas, for a great discussion about John Duffey. The album is called Epilogue, a tribute to John Duffey. It's on the Smithsonian label. One of my favorite photos of John Duffey on the inside with him with a pair of star glasses on.